Scott and I kind of got together last year after I got the job, and we decided that when we bring in free agents, when we sign people, when we trade for people, we want to kind of do a proper introduction, not only to the city, but as well the media. So without further ado, sorry it's a little late, but we were on the road last week. Markieff Morris and Kyrie Irving. Don't everybody talk at once.
And with that, all right, we'll go straight into questions. Andy has one right here. Kristen, second row. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Andy Adler with CBS 11. Andy Adler with CBS 11. First of all, welcome. Welcome to Dallas. Kyrie, I know you've developed a strong relationship with Nico and with Coach Kidd. What is the best advice they've given you so far?
Well, first off, thank you for that introduction. It's an honor to be here, grateful to be here, share space with all you here. You know, to answer your question, the first piece of advice they gave me, which is probably the best piece of advice, is just to be myself and to come in and just look forward to the team that we're developing and just take a chance and take it one day at a time. There's no rush here. We're not putting too much pressure on you. There's no pressure on the team, sort of say, when we come in every day. We just want you guys to be consistent. So that was music to my ears. It sounded right up my lane, and you know, it's easy to find familiarity with Nico. Obviously, our relationship extending a few years prior to this. Great to see him in a new position, powerful position. Grateful that we could now make something happen here in Dallas. So I'm looking forward to it.
Kyrie, hi. I'm over here. Dorothy Gentry, iMessenger Media. At this point in your career, what drives you? What motivates you? What gets you out of bed in the morning? What is your why when you're misquoted, misjudged, all of that?
That's a great question. I have a few whys. You know, obviously, starting with my family, me having 2 kids in the last 2 years. If anybody knows what 2 under 2 is in a household, you know, some nights are filled with, you know, just being up and comforting the young ones. And that was just a new position for me. Obviously, I mean, I say obviously, I have my daughter who's 7, so I've watched her grow up as well. The kids around me that I've been able to build relationships with within my community drive me as well. And then also just humanity. I'm a selfless servant for Christ, our God, and I just genuinely believe that when you put good energy out, good energy comes back. So I'm just simplifying my life. I was a rambunctious 20-year-old who had a lot of questions, very curious about the world around me. I've been in the public eye since I've been 17 years old, 18 years old, so figuring out that has been its own journey. But now that I'm here in the present moment, I can ground myself and just say I'm grateful that I know my whys, which is my family, and developing great relationships around me for the rest of my life. So basketball will carry me forward in different endeavors, but relationships and the impact that people have on me and that I have on them is really the big purpose on why I do what I do now.
Dwayne Price, Mavs.com. Kyrie, you played on and off the ball with LeBron in Cleveland, on and off the ball with James Harden in Brooklyn. Why do you think you keep asking people to keep asking questions if you can play on and off the ball here with Luka?
I think maybe it's just a trendy question just to ask me over and over again, kind of get maybe a similar, different response. I'm not sure. All I know is really playing basketball with a lot of high-level, high IQ players and making it work. You throw me out there at the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club and you ask me to play with a bunch of kids, I'm going to be the same way. You know, you ask me to play with the best players in the world and be selfless, I'm willing to do that. So I don't know what the misconception is, whether or not I could play off the ball, but every single time I step foot out there, I get a chance to really prove it to myself that I can play with anybody and everybody and still be efficient and be myself.
Tim Cato with The Athletic. Nico, I've got one for you. You've had 2 trade deadlines. You've made 2 major moves across these 2 trade deadlines. Obviously, when you took this job, you could not have predicted the moves that you made over the past 2 years. But how closely does making 2 major moves at both deadlines align with the vision or the philosophy that you wanted to bring into this job?
You know what? I think you know, the moves that we made were all towards the goal that we want, is to bring a championship here. So it doesn't really matter if it's done at the trade deadline, if it's done at the summertime. It's about trying to bring the pieces in to build a championship team. And so that's what, that's what Mark brought me here to do, and that's what I'm, hopeful that we're working towards. So for me, when you get an opportunity to bring in another all-star player to go alongside with Luka, that's who wouldn't do that?
This is for Kyrie, Leslie McCaslin, Valley Sports Southwest. I've had 2 under 2. Congratulations. You can now handle anything. Yeah. Kind of a generic question, but what did you think of this home court and the Dallas crowd before, and what do you expect tonight?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I used to come to Dallas, being an Eastern Conference player, it used to be Friday night, Saturday night, or you could tell that the community was ready for us to come in, whether I was in Cleveland or Boston. Only played a few times here. I don't know I think I played one time here in the Nets. I'm not sure if I even played. But just to answer your question, thinking about the home crowd, I'm just excited to experience it. It's one thing to be here as an opponent, but it's another thing to be here as a home player, get introduced, feel the community love, just meet new people. So I'm sure that the expectation is heightened as much as it is for me just to get out there and let my game do the speaking and then connect with the fans and the community as we build relationships and moving forward. So looking forward to it.
Nick Angstead, Locked On. This is a question for Kyrie and for Nico, if I can. What would you guys say to fans and to people that call this trade a really, really big risk for the Mavericks?
I don't see any risk involved at all. I've known Kyrie for a long time. I know his core. I know the type of person he is. I think anybody who's ever watched him play basketball knows the type of basketball player he is. So I don't see the risk at all. I actually see the risk in not doing it.
Touche. But no, I'm appreciative of our long-lasting relationship and him knowing my family very well. And now it's just about me going out and proving it to my teammates and doing what I do and control what I can control.
Kyrie, Mike Leslie from WFA. Just to follow up a little bit on Dwayne's question earlier about playing on and off the ball. You've had the experience with LeBron, with a number of different players. Luka hasn't had the opportunity to play with a player of similar caliber to him like you now come in here as. Do you have any advice for Luka for how to handle this scenario now that he finally has somebody that's on his level?
I don't want to dive too deep into the advice that I would give him because I think I could go and actually say it to him, but I could give you just a generalization of just what my frame of thinking is just passing along what the greats before me have passed along. It's just focus on what you have in the locker room, the guys that you have, focus on the discipline and focus that you can control yourself and the results will play out. Enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. And when you get an opportunity to play with some special people, really cherish them. Don't take it for granted. And really enjoy the time that you have because this game goes by so quick. These years go by so quick. And like you said, I played with Bron, I played with KD, and, I played with James. Obviously seeing the duo that's in Boston now with JT and JB, how elevated they've become. I feel like every time I've played with other great players, we've become better and we push each other. So I know that Luka can push me and I can push him, and that's just simple for me.
Markieff, you're obviously your own man, but your brother has had some real interesting battles with Luka in the past. And so I'm curious, coming into this locker room, what you know about Luka, what that relationship was like before, and where that might progress.
It's just basketball. I mean, whatever happens on the court happens on the court. Doesn't really spill outside of basketball. Yeah, I'm just happy to be his teammate now.
Do you anticipate bringing? What do you anticipate bringing to this team? I think fans are looking for an edge and a grit from a player like you.
Whatever is needed. I'm not a man of many words. I just go out there and handle business, whatever is needed.
Isaac Harris, Locked On Mavs, and with the Mavs. Kyrie, you mentioned duo a little bit ago. What makes a duo like you and Luka? What makes a duo great?
Well, to be honest with you, we move away from that word duo. It gets kind of watered down a little bit in our league, and I think sometimes it leaves out a lot of the players that do a lot of our dirty work or do little things to help us be great. The screens being set, a lot of the little things that don't show up in the stat book, help us become who we are. But obviously when you're playing along somebody that has the consistency to score the ball, play make, and really challenge the defense to make adjustments like Luka does, then, we obviously are forced together to be reckoned with, whether we're being in pick and roll or whether we're making plays for one another, off each other. So I think that's the exciting future that I see alongside him as a running mate, as a duo mate, as it'll kind of be explained across the rest of this year. But, yeah, I think we just have to just focus on what we can do as a team, and collectively, me and Luka just handling what we're supposed to be doing, which is staying consistent.
Hey guys, I'm Callie Kaplan with the Dallas Morning News. For Markieff and Kyrie, both of you, I know we've talked the past bunch of days about just the whirlwind and the busyness of the trade coming on so quickly, but what's it been like for your families? Like, have they made it to Dallas? Will they come to Dallas? Like, how do you balance that side of things when there's so many different variables to deal with and you get traded on the road and it's just all coming at once?
For me, my family's in Florida. They'll come eventually, but they enjoying life in Florida, so. I got 2 kids also that's in school, so they just, doing them, and I'm up here working.
Yeah, my family just made it up last night, so smiling ear to ear, watching my boys run in and having my wife and my mother-in-law here. And over time, I think after All-Star break, I'll have a lot more of my family members able to attend, so no rush, but looking forward to them being here.
Joe Trahan from WFAA TV. This was for Nico. Nico, when you were talking about the risk question earlier, you talked about the fact that you know Kyrie, and that leads you to believe that this will work. What are some of those character traits that you know that we may not, that lead you to believe this will work?
Yeah, I think if you just look at the core, who he is as a person first and foremost, and then his work ethic. Like, his work ethic is impeccable. I mean, he spent a lot of time with Kobe back in the day, and he shares a lot of those same traits in terms of just tirelessly working on his craft continuously. And I think his game is actually bigger than people actually realize because of the skills that he has. He can't always show them off because it's a team game, but that's the part of it that makes me sleep easy at night. And then when you talk about the core of somebody, like, people are always evolving. As humans, we evolve, but our core remains the same. And so his core is amazing human being, and he's still evolving as a person like we all are, but his core is intact.
Landon Thomas, Mavs Fans for Life. Welcome, Kyrie and Markieff. This is for Kyrie. You talked about playing with Luka. What's your thoughts on a young player like Josh Green? What for the past week or so, what's something that you've learned that you didn't see from the outside looking in?
It's one of our young Aussie Kings. Just another guy coming from the homeland that's just doing extremely well and has completely integrated himself into the culture of sport here, especially basketball. If you look at his journey, I think it's remarkable to see what he did at IMG, and just being able to play with other special players. I think it prepared him very well for this level. He does all the little things, and he has a lot of raw talent, a lot of athleticism, and I think being around other high IQ thinkers is only going to make him better. So I see a lot of potential in a few young guys here. So just trying to aid and be a guide just like the older guys did for me when I came into the league.
Kyrie, Chuck Cooperstein, Mavs radio play-by-play. Your ability to finish around the rim is legendary. How much enjoyment do you get from that and finishing that way as opposed to, just knocking down an open three? And where did that come from? I mean, most people don't want to go among the land of the giants, and yet you seem to thrive in that.
Yeah, it's dangerous in there. Don't get me wrong. It's dangerous being in there with those footers. So I definitely take my risk going in there. I just try to make sure that they're calculated, and I'm not wasting any movements. I've worked on my footwork for so long. I've watched the best of the best, from Kobe to Tim Duncan to Ray Allen, Stephon Marbury, just guys that I've really tried to emulate either their footwork into their finishing ability or their finishing ability that comes from their footwork. So I just try to study a lot of the greats and become a savant and a student of the game, and finishing amongst the trees is a special trait that I don't take for granted, but I know it takes a lot of practice. So I've been working with both hands since I was a little ute. And before I hit my little mini growth spurt of being 6'2" in the league, I think that's still tall amongst everybody else. But I was really under the rim finisher. Couldn't really tap glass or do any of those things. Wasn't athletic like my friends, so I had to develop these weird, awkward-looking layups that I used to get made fun of initially at first, just how I used to scoop and do those things. But now they've just become a trait that I can pass on to the next generation, but also work on myself and become better and better. But sometimes they're going to be successful, sometimes they're not. I'm just confident enough to try them because I practice them.
Yes, in the interest of time, because it is pregame, we'll do a couple more and then these guys will go back.
Newey Scruggs, NBC5 Dallas. Kyrie, two questions for you. One, that ability to hang, how do you know how long you need to hang and then just, let it go to make the basket? And then secondly, what do you want to feel? What do you need to see in order to possibly sign a long-term deal to remain a Maverick?
Well, I'll answer your second question first. I would love to just have a respect of you guys and everybody the rest of the season of just continuously asking me that, because it just puts unwarranted distractions on us and our team. And I've dealt with it before, and it's very emotionally draining to ask questions like, what's the long term? What's the long term? What is it? But I will say that from the start of when I came here, there's been nothing but a warm embrace, nothing but genuine love, and nothing but a familiarity of relationships that I could really look to in times of questioning or confusion. I could always go to these guys or the ladies in our front office or people that have really made themselves available since I landed in Dallas. So there's just a positive note there, and just taking it one day at a time. That's all I could do in this life, and what the future holds is really only going to be dictated on what I do right now and how I prepare for those next steps, and that's being the best teammate I can in that locker room, being a great leader out here within the Dallas community, within the NBA, and just continue to be myself and develop. So I think just putting that to bed and just focus on what we have ahead as a team. Now, as your first question, I'm a Irving. You don't know my uncle, Julius? we just split it. You just split it. Just flip it, E to I. We go way back in the day to South Carolina days, and we always laugh about it. Even when I see it, I swear I think we're family, because obviously I can't grip the ball like Doc or do anything like that, but there's some nuances of athleticism and things that wows the crowd as an entertainer and performer that I believe he was doing before me. So I'm grateful to carry on the legacy of a lot of guys that have done outworldly things with their talent and have wowed people for generations. So I don't take this position for granted at all, and I'm just going to continue to work hard and see where I end up in the next couple years, and hopefully my game still evolves and you're talking about me the same way. So.
Question for Markieff. Through what lens are you viewing this opportunity with the Mavericks for your career right now?
Just the opportunity to play. I didn't play early in the season with the Nets, so just an opportunity just to further my career and just add more years.
Last one.
All right. Kyrie, Mac Engel with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. You mentioned it. You've been in the spotlight since you were a kid, so you're kind of used to it. And in that time, you've been called everything from great and a whole bunch of other things, too, that aren't so great. So clearly you're a bright guy, but there's something about your personality that just doesn't seem to mesh with everybody sometimes. Why do you think that is? And at this point in your life, do you even really care that much?
Oh, man, I would love to be well-liked by everybody. Oh, man, how the world would be so perfect for me. That's just not it. It's just not it for, I don't think, anyone in this room. I think we have family members that we don't necessarily get along with all the time, friends that we don't necessarily talk to every day. But the genuine love that you have in your heart is the only thing that you can really control. I have open dialogue with everybody that spends time with me, wants to have a conversation, wants to ask me questions. I just think that if you try to get to know me within this workspace and you expect me to be on all the time and say the right things and do the right things, it's not something you could really expect from somebody. I'm just not a perfect robot that can go around giving all the right answers all the time or trying to be something that someone else wants me to be. But I think what I've been able to learn is to just focus on the people around me and the people that really genuinely celebrate me, and everyone else that has things to say about me. I think what I would say to them is I wish you nothing but the best, and I wish you well and your family well. But I have a life to live, and I have kids to raise, so I don't really have the energy to sit and focus on things I can't control about the way people think about me. So, thanks.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.